Dasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Welcome, people, to night number 3? Night number 3 of the Q&A sessions here for the Rishikesh Kirtan Fest. It always begins with a question. And for that, I turn to all of you and see who would like to ask the first question. Any volunteers? Yes. Our friends from Venezuela.
No, Venezuela. Carly? Okay. Okay, I have two questions. It's related with the things that we were talking in the morning about Maya and illusion. And the first question is if asana practice is related with Maya, with illusion. And the second question is like right now we see a lot of conflict, suffering in the world, and is all this product of our own identifications. So what should be the posture or the path to follow for a bhakti yogi? Mhm.
Thank you, Victoria. Or should I say Vicky? Like Vicky? Vicky is good. Yeah, so there are two questions. Let me deal with the first one first and the second one second. So the first one had to do with asana. We this morning, every morning in the hall here, except for tomorrow morning, Mondays we're not doing, but otherwise every other day of the week, we're discussing yoga philosophy, Vedanta, like this. And there we're speaking about how desires that cannot be fulfilled in reality, then they must be fulfilled in illusion. And in essence, that's what we're doing here in this material world. It's an illusory realm in which we pursue desires that reality will not facilitate. So that was a big conversation. We could go on a lot about that. But your question is, does asana, yoga asana, does it have something to do with Maya? Well, yoga asana is part of the yoga, part of one yoga path, right? There, there's so many yoga paths and so many different ways we could categorize them. And one way that people commonly do, and it's become popular, is that they say there are 4 basic paths of yoga. You've heard this before? So you have Ashtanga yoga, you have Jnana yoga, Karma yoga, Bhakti yoga. It's one way, and the Bhagavad Gita actually in the 13th chapter it presents it very much like that. It says there are 4 different ways that people, yogis, pursue finding God within their own heart, and it mentions these 4 different ways. So it's one way to look at them, and in one of those paths, asana plays an important role, and that's Ashtanga yoga. And so the most popular presentation of that form of yoga, most widely recognized full presentation of it was presented by the sage Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras. And there he mentions asana as one of 8 limbs to stilling the mind, going deep into a state of samadhi, and experiencing one's own true nature. So there, asana becomes, although it's within the realm of matter, it's about moving the body, breathing, concentrating in a particular way. All of those, the body, the breath, the mind, all are composed of matter. You know, the word Maya really just means energy, but sometimes, commonly, it's used to refer to the bewildering potency of the material energy. Okay, so whether it's our body, whether it's our breath, whether it's our mind, even the mind is a very fine grade of matter, but it's still not spirit. It's still the material energy. And what Patanjali did was essentially he said, we all have this very special nature inside, this very spiritual nature within. By nature, it's blissful. By nature, it's happy. But we may feel out of touch with that. And therefore, rather than experiencing the bliss that is our nature, we're experiencing depression, confusion, anger, boredom, so many miserable conditions in life. He's saying if you could experience your own true nature again, then you would feel relieved of all of that misery and you'd feel your inner bliss. And what's standing in the way of you experiencing that is the mind. All the programming in the mind, all the false conceptions, all the false ideas have us pursuing happiness through external objects or external circumstances that really don't satisfy. And so he says, I can lay out a path by which you can still that mind and then get deep down within and um, feel your own nature through going into a state of consciousness called samadhi, which is a state of trance. It's a very elusive, very difficult state to attain. It's a state of concentration that's so deep, so complete, that your awareness is focused entirely on the object of your focus. So strong that you even lost awareness of yourself. In other words, you're not even aware that I am observing this object. I am meditating on this object. There's only the object. It's very subtle and very elusive and very challenging to achieve. Succeeding at the path of Ashtanga Yoga is something like aiming to win the gold medal in the Olympics or something like that. You have to get very, very serious about this goal. You have to drastically change your lifestyle in order to pursue it. You know, if you're trying to win the gold medal in gymnastics, you can't go out partying every night and get up late and eat donuts all day and watch television. You got to work hard. You got to give up your boyfriend. You got to, at every moment of free time, you have to be training to achieve this very difficult and elusive goal. That's what Ashtanga Yoga is like. And Patanjali recognizes that our life, if the goal is to still the mind, hold it very still, our lifestyle may stir up the mind. So we need to address the lifestyle. Our body may be an obstacle in achieving this state of consciousness. Our breath may be an obstacle in achieving this state of consciousness. Our senses may be obstacles in achieving this state of awareness. So the first 5 limbs deal with lifestyle, body, breath, and the senses. So the first 2 limbs deal with the lifestyle, yama and niyama, right? If I'm living a lifestyle that is stirring up the mind, that includes lying, that includes uncontrolled sex life, that includes stealing, wanting things that are unnecessary, violence. These things they leave deep impressions in the mind. They stir the mind. The mind keeps coming back to them, right? You tell one lie, so much anxiety. Isn't it true? I may be discovered. Maybe I have to tell another lie to cover up the first lie. Oh my God, now I'm caught in, what is it, Shakespeare that said, oh, what a tangled web we weave? Right? So we can't lie. If you're going to be a yogi, lying will just, it's like you're trying to start a fire and you're pouring water on it at the same time. It's never going to light up. If you're going to still the mind, you can't keep stirring it up with your lifestyle. So that's the yama. And then the niyama, right, is these kind of positive things. Those are the things you don't do. And then the things that you do in your lifestyle. Socham, cleanliness, right? Contentment. What else? Self-study. Tapas, very important, right? And ultimately, Ishvara Prandan. You do it all for God. You give it all for God, like that. So lifestyle has to be addressed. Asana addresses the body, right? I'm from the United States. There we have a holiday in the autumn, in the fall season, called Thanksgiving. You all are familiar with this, Thanksgiving? I think cultures commonly have a fall harvest kind of festival where you thank God for all of the gifts that you've given in the harvest. So that's what Thanksgiving is supposed to be. But what it's warped into is you eat like crazy, and then you watch the football game. And so on that day, people eat more than they normally eat. They eat and eat and eat and eat until your stomach is so full that you just can't eat anymore, right? You know that feeling? Just it's almost, oh, I can't eat it. Here, to have a little bit more. No, I wish I could. I can't. Now, if you're in that state where your stomach is just as jam packed as it could possibly be, and right at that moment, someone comes up to you and says, "I want to discuss with you the subtle nuances and the distinctions between the works of Leo Tolstoy and the philosophy propounded by the great Greek philosophers, and then compare that, to the wisdom of the Vedic tradition." So you're gonna be like, you know what? Not right now. You can't think very clearly because your body is so taxed by the amount of food. Your digestive system is just working overtime, and your mind can't be lucid. So you say, "I can't talk about this. I just want to lie down right now, watch the television, zone out." Right? Have any of you ever fasted for a lengthy period of time before? Yeah, like anyone do like 10 days, just water, just juice? I've done before. Yes. It's not easy, especially the first day, second day, third day. But after the third day, what happens? You feel energized, and the mind becomes clear, lucid, right? Because we're generally eating before the stomach's even finished digesting what we ate in the last meal. If you go 3 days, you give your body a chance to burn off all of that, right? And then suddenly, a kind of clarity comes, kind of lucid comes. If you were to walk up into these mountains and see the real yogis up there, those that, they don't have a refrigerator to keep going to. There's no restaurants to go to. They eat roots, some fruits on the trees, some berries. It's a very simple diet. They're thin, they're lean, right? Their skin is very clear, their eyes are very bright, and they have a very lucid mind. Right? They're breathing fresh air, drinking pure water. The water is full of minerals, They got this clarity in the mind. So when the systems in the body are running smoothly, the mind tends to become more lucid. And therefore asana. Because what asana can do is it can move the body and move the organs and move all the systems, the digestive system, the respiratory system, the endocrine system, the muscular system, the skeletal system, all of these different systems in the body. And then there's subtle systems that only the yogis speak of, subtle channels of energy that are flowing through the body. Asana addresses them all. Even just something, doing this kind of twist, it's taking these inner organs and massaging them, squeezing them, refreshing them. Like if you take a wet sponge and you just leave it on the counter, after a day or two or three or four, it gets kind of gross inside, right? There's all kind of stuff growing on it and it doesn't smell nice. And what do you do to refresh it? You turn on the water, you put it under the water, you squeeze it. You open it up again, you let fresh water run in, you squeeze it again. You open it up again, you let fresh water in. So that's what asana can do for all of these organs, right? Oh, the liver and all these different organs. It can massage them, and then a fresh flow of blood enters in. You stand on your head, all of these veins in the legs, the blood gets kind of caught in these little traps in them. If I had a chalkboard, I could draw it out for you how I guess you turn upside down and it all starts to flow the other way. Gives relief to the system, like that. So asana is really meant to, it's addressed towards the body, but it's for the purpose of a lucid, clear mind, like that. Pranayama, still more, right? These yogis understood there's a deep connection between the breath and the mind. If somebody's very upset, very disturbed, they're generally hyperventilating, right? Their mind is very upset, and what's the first thing that we tell them to do? Take a few deep breaths. Now take a few deep breaths. Take a few deep breaths, and without fail, at least to some degree, their mind begins to kind of settle a bit. And so these yogis, beyond such a simple thing, they understood the patterns of breath and how to settle the mind through the breath. And then, so that's pranayama. So yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. Pratyahara means withdrawing the senses, drawing the senses within. This is something that if you practice, you can sit very still, close the eyes, and let go, and feel like you're not even in your body, right? And then you begin to feel more of your inner self. Once you've settled all of this, the next three limbs, please. The next three limbs are all about deeper focus, stronger concentration. What is it? Dharana is next, concentration. Dhyana means lengthened concentration. We can call that meditation. And when you can extend that length of concentration even longer, full concentration, 100% concentration, then you can enter into a state called samadhi. And in that state of samadhi, all the programming within the mind, all the māyā, right? All the false program about who I am and what I need to be happy, all that becomes revealed as illusion. All that becomes revealed as unreal because you're feeling your own nature underneath. All right, it becomes meaningless. These things that meant so much to us before. I am this, I am that, I need this, I need that. It all becomes meaningless. It's that there's no truth in it whatsoever. So asana, although it's addressing the material energy, the body, it's meant for settling the mind and experiencing the self. Right? There's so many different ways that we can use the material energy to understand the spirit. Take these temples, so many temples, right? There's a form within the temple made out of stone, made out of wood, made out of metal externally, right? But the true spirit can enter into that form. In one sense, this spirit is in every form, but can manifest and accept our focus, our worship, our meditation. And so by meditation on that external form, one can begin to experience one's internal nature. So asana is meant like that. Is that okay? Okay. She just had one more. I'll take it. Thank you. And so the second question, maybe we could repeat that question.
Okay, the second question was that right now we live in a world with a lot of suffering, with a lot of conflicts, and it looks that it's all product of our own identifications. So, what should do, or what is the path that should do the Bhakti Yogis?
So a large part, you mentioned the word identity or identify. Right? So there's a Sanskrit word for these false designations that we have. It's upadi. It means a false designation. I am identifying with something that we're not. The most fundamental illusory conception that practically all of us are engaged with to some degree or another, and the one that leads to so many more, is we identify with the body as the self. I am this body, I am this mind. We think that this is me. Just from that false conception comes all the others follow in that path, right? So we think I'm man, I'm woman. I'm American, I'm Venezuelan, right? I'm tall, I'm short, I'm attractive, I'm unattractive, I'm this, I'm that. All these different things. It's difficult for us not to identify with that. Right? This is the ahankara, the false ego. It has power, influence. Either we get control of it, either the yogi gets control of it, or it controls us. Okay. So there's from Puranas, this ancient verse. What is it? Sarvopadi. All the upadis. Sarvopadi venir muktam. One becomes free of them all. Sarvopadi venir muktam tatparat vena nirmalam. Rishikesha. We're in a place called Rishikesh. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchite. By serving with bhakti, one overcomes sarvopati. Sarvopati vinirmuktam. One overcomes all the false identifications. Because our original true self, the essence of that true self, is divine love, expressed through bhakti, expressed through service to the object, to that divine object of love. That's the true identity. So by meditating on the true identity, from embracing the true identity, engaging with the true identity, all of the false conceptions can be overcome. And so the practices of bhakti, whether, there's from the very special and beautiful text, Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishno Smaranam Parasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dhasyam Sakyam Atmanavedanam, that there's 9 different limbs of the bhakti yoga practice, including hearing the sacred texts, hearing the pastimes, the leelas of Krishna, chanting, right? Shravanam Kirtanam, everybody's been doing here, right? Chanting these names of God. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam, meditation. Padasevanam, serving the lotus feet and doing seva. Archanam, the meditation of the worship of the deity form, and so on. It lists these 9. The Bhakti Yogi is practicing these with the idea that I am not this body, I am not this mind, I am not American, I am not as Venezuelan. I have an eternal identity that's beyond all of this. And by harmonizing my mind with that eternal identity, it can arise. That prema, that pure love, will arise in the self. So that's our path, and that's what we're practicing. But if we practice it, and if we embrace the Atma Jnana, the knowledge of the self that's within the realm of the practice of bhakti, then not only do I not identify myself with my body, but I don't identify you with your body. Right? I see I am pure spirit, you are pure spirit. So Bhagavad Gita calls this vision Samadarshana. Darshana means the vision. Sama means evenness, an evenness of vision. I don't think my country just bombed your country, right? Right. You don't hold that against me. I don't hold anything against you, because I'm not American and you're not Venezuelan. We're just souls that are floating through this illusory realm, apparently here and apparently there, apparently this and apparently, but you and I, we're relating on a level beyond that, a level beyond the illusion, right? We need to see with that equal vision, right? I don't judge based on the body. Man, woman, black, white, American, Venezuelan, Indian, human, animal, plant. I see the spirit in it all. Right? The yogis, they would go up into these mountains to cultivate that vision, right? To see the soul in every living being, to see God in the heart of every living being. That kind of vision, it relieves us of all anxiety, of all fear. It's only with that vision can we come in touch with the true nature of the self. Otherwise, the mind is caught up in too many patterns, too many loops of fear and anxiety and resentment and even or attraction, right? All of it's distraction. Right? The yogis are going deeper, 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 always going deeper. Is that okay? Thank you, Victoria. Very well. May our countries find peace, the same peace that we share as individuals. Yes. Thank you. Celeste, you had a question.
Thank you, Prabhu. Just following on from your session this morning, talking about Gyan Atma, Gyan Atma, or Atma Gyan. Atma Gyan. So knowledge of the self and self-realization. I'm just wondering if once you achieve self-realization or knowledge of the self, is it that you will be guaranteed going to Godhead, or are there other factors at play? So that's the first part of my question. The second part really relates to just a reference, I think, from the Bhagavatam, Canto 1, around that there are 8.6 million species in the earth. And is it as such that we need to experience illusion and māyā through all of those different species in reincarnation until we can achieve self-realization? Thank you.
Can I keep it on the stool so that it is audible to many people behind?
You want to put it where?
Can I keep it
Up higher?
up higher?
It's okay with me?
Okay, I'll bring it.
Thank you. Now I forgot the questions. Let me deal with the second question first. And I'll probably remember them, but you can help me out. Second question is, there's so many different species of life. Millions, hundreds of thousands of species of life. No, millions. Does the soul have to pass through them all before achieving its freedom? That's essentially the question. Thank you. And the answer is that when it's almost like saying, sometimes, who's the goddess that's responsible for this material realm? Durga, right? She's the personification of the material energy. She rides on like a tiger, right? And she carries, they call it like a trident in English, right? Trishula. It's got 3 points, right? Those 3 points are said to represent different things, like the threefold miseries, the three different types of miseries that we experience in this world. She's poking us with that in different times. But although it's painful, it's really for our own good. That we learn the lessons that we need to learn. That we learn that this is not my home. This body is not my home. This material realm is not my home. There's a much higher reality, a much higher experience I'm meant to be experiencing. Sometimes the word Durga also means the prison. So we can also see this world as like the prison. What is prison meant for? It's also meant for learning lessons, right? It's really meant to be reformatory, right? You learn what you have to learn so that you can go back into society, understanding things properly, behaving properly, caring for others properly. So this material realm is something like that. And the different species, the different forms that are there, in a sense, each one is just like a different cell in the prison, right? And each one is brings us certain pleasures and certain pains, and hopefully we're learning through the experience as we go on. But really, they have these things like, this is something else that's like abused in our current administrations, but like in the United States, the president has the power to pardon. Any federal crime, any conviction, the president just has to say, you're pardoned and you're free. Like that. The way that it's supposed to be used, the way that it's often used is for political purposes. But the purpose is that if someone is actually innocent, or if someone has gained the realization that they're meant to gain, then there's no need for them to remain in the prison. They have parole boards for this kind of thing too, and after so many years, the prisoner goes before the parole board and they're asked questions, and they try to feel whether they've understood what they're meant to understand and whether they're ready to re-enter back into back into society. So our existence in this world is like that. If we've learned the lessons, then we can be freed at any point. It's really more that we're hanging on to it than we're locked within it. And if we've learned the lessons, we can let go and be free. So it's said that, sometimes it's said, I don't know if it's being said more, I always have a hard time saying this word, colloquially, or if it, but that we pass through all the different species. We don't know how long we've been moving through this material world. We don't know how many incarnations we've had. But it's safe to assume that we've had so many. And that we've been all these things. We've been man, woman, black, white, human, animal, insect, bird, fish, plant, tree, blade of grass. And we've come back up to the material, or come back up to the human form. And then this form is so special and so important. It's such a great opportunity because it grants us the best opportunity to transcend. So do we have to go through all of them? I think as soon as we learn the lessons, we can be free. And we may have gone through them all already. So most important is not so much where we've been, but what we do with the opportunity that we have right now. Okay. And the second question, remind me, please.
It was about we talked in the class today yesterday about atmagyan, so self-knowledge. My question is, once you achieve self-realization, self-knowledge, are you guaranteed going back to Godhead, or are there other factors at play to help you to get there?
So going back to God, it is a colloquialism. Just a word that I just cannot say, no matter how hard I try. But it's a way of speaking about, you could say, what the ancient texts call Vaikuntha, the realm beyond the material realm, the spiritual realm, which is understood as a realm of spiritual planets, wherein people have different rasas, different moods of love for the divine. And between this world and that world, you could say, is a realm called the Brahma Jyoti, which is a realm of divine light that doesn't, where the full love is not manifest, but like peace is manifest. Okay. And within the realm of the spiritual planets, they go up, and then they go to what's called Goloka Vrindavan, which is the realm of Krishna's very intimate and personal love, which, according to the great sages of the Bhakti tradition, say this is the highest evolution, this intimate love. So Atmagyana is included within Bhakti, but Atmagyana itself doesn't necessarily... Bhakti includes Atmagyana. Atmagyana may not include Bhakti. That's the point. So I may have understood I'm not my body, I'm not my mind. I may have let go of all of my material desires because of that, but I still may not have awakened divine love. I may have found peace. I may have transcended material sufferings because of my Atmagyana, because of my realizing my nature, and I may be existing in a realm of peace. The Srimad Bhagavatam is such a fascinating book because the author of all of the Vedic texts, including the Upanishads, which really speak about finding this kind of peace, the author of all of them says, I haven't been clear enough in writing the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutra, the Mahabharata, and all of the Puranas. I haven't been clear enough of how divine love is really the highest evolution that the soul can reach. So let me go back and write a book where I really make that perfectly clear, and I address my own shortcomings in not being clear enough about this. That text is called the Srimad Bhagavatam. The great sage Vyasadeva, who not composed so much, but who channeled and shared with us all the Vedic knowledge, he decides I need to clarify this. He tells his own story. It makes it really clear. I'm going to clear things up now. And there he gives several really important examples of people who had Atmagyana but no Bhakti. And then they found Bhakti and they said, oh, now I understand. And perhaps the most beautiful, fascinating, and clear example of that is the four Kumaras. Okay, these are, at the beginning, the Bhagavatam is going to tell us that the universe is in constant states of cycles, right? And even the universes are all withdrawn within to the body of Vishnu, then they come back out, then they go through cycles, then they cycle, the whole universe cycles back in. So there's all these cycles going on. But as the universe is born again, the first creature there is Vishnu himself, and from the navel of Lord Vishnu grows a lotus. And born upon that lotus is the creator, Brahma, right? He's like us in the sense that he's a soul, a jiva. He's not God himself, but he's a really unique soul that's given incredible power, incredible depth. He's an incredible yogi. He can create with his meditation. And he's given the responsibility, the service, the seva, to populate the universe with planets, with species, and so on. And he's dedicated to carrying out Vishnu's will. And so the first thing that he does is he creates four sons through his meditation. And those four sons are called the four Kumaras. And he was counting on them to assist him in this mission. And so he just like parents, they have ideas of what they want their children to do and how they want them to assist, especially here in India. And so he wanted them to become progenitors, that they would have offspring and populate the universe. But they thought they were very wise sages, even though they're just little boys. And they thought, once we do that, we get more entangled in this world. We would prefer to stay single, celibate, bachelors, little yogis. And they said the way that we can do that is just by staying in these young little bodies. And so they remained just like little boys, naked. Although they had the wisdom of, they're practically the most ancient beings. So they had tremendous wisdom and tremendous spiritual realization. They had this Brahma Gyana. They had this realization of Brahman, right? Of the oneness. And through that they found a deep, deep peace. So they were situated in that stage and respected. And the reason why Vyasadeva used this example is because no matter who you are, you have to respect the four Kumars. Everybody understands. They weren't your run-of-the-mill meditators or your average yogis. They were incredibly deep, Brahman realized yogis. So they had it. They had it for real. And there's an incredible story in the Srimad Bhagavatam where they go to the gates of Vaikuntha and they wanted to wander in, and they were blocked by the two guards at the gate. And for them, they had achieved the state of oneness. They're like, what is this duality? Why are you just seeing us as like friends and enemies, and some people are qualified and some people are unqualified? What is this all about? Coming to Vaikuntha, I didn't think we would encounter that. And then they cursed the sages. And then Vishnu came. He came to relieve and really to apologize to the four Kumars for being denied entry, and also to care for the guards as well. He showed up. But when he showed up, the four Kumars for the first time saw they were used to engaging with the divine as the non-personal Brahman energy, the oneness. They had no experience of the divine in the personal form. And the feelings, the spiritual feelings that one feels in connection with that form. So when they saw the form of Lord Vishnu, they were fascinated. And there's one of my favorite paintings in the world is a painting of Lord Vishnu. He's in this posture. He's bending down to address the four Kumars, and all four of them are these little naked little boys, and they're all fascinated, examining him from different angles. And one of them has his face right down at his feet. You know, I've never seen feet like this. Something's happening inside me. And it's said that they smelled the aroma of the tulsi leaves blended with the aroma of the feet of Lord Vishnu. And when they smelled that, something awakened them that here was a beauty of a form that was beyond any material form. Here was an aroma that was beyond any material aroma. It was pure spiritual energy. And through it, feelings of love. But not the material love, not what we call love in this world, but the incredibly deep, selfless, spiritual love was stirring in their hearts. And then they understood what bhakti is. So then they went from the Atma Gyan, which they had for real, and they went up to, you could say, Krishna Gyana, or let's say Vishnu Gyana. They understood God in the personal way. Deeper realization. And so to achieve Vaikuntha, to achieve the spiritual realm, one has to have that in the heart. God realization, love for God, prema, right? That takes you to that realm. Atmagyana itself doesn't do it. So again, bhakti includes Atmagyana. Atmagyana doesn't necessarily include bhakti. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice question. Are there any more questions from our lovely audience here today? Yes? I'll wait here patiently until one of you, yes, brave souls, brings up a question.
Hi Prabhuji. So I am Ankit. and Ankit. Yeah. So my question is, so I am a devotee of Lord Shiva, and thank you so much. Same to you. And my question is, like, when I come to these kirtans where there is japa of Hare Krishna Mahamantra and all, so what should I be meditating on? What should be my thoughts be like? Because I'm a devotee of Shiva and the mantra is all about Radha Krishnan. So it is little confusing. Like, what should be my thoughts be like? If you could enlighten.
You do know that it's going to be difficult for me to answer that in an unbiased way. So I will speak from the perspective of the Krishna Bhaktas. If we look at the Bhagavad Gita, we find Krishna saying some interesting things about devotion and about sacrifice and about worship. One thing that he says is that people commonly worship the devas to achieve the things of this world. Right? Now, of course, Shiva is called the Mahadeva, right? The great Deva. Now, what Krishna says is that whatever they give them, whatever the devas give the worshipper, he says ultimately it comes from me. Right? And so ultimately by worshiping the deva, they're worshiping me, but they're doing it with incomplete understanding. This is Krishna's statement in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, I'm giving all that, so they can just come to me. But he also says, but if they have that faith in their deva, then within their heart, I will encourage them and make that faith strong. Okay. So here we have a very different idea. Like, you were raised here in Bharat, in India, and probably with less exposure to the Abrahamic faiths, like Christianity, Judaism, Islam, that we grew up with in the West. There, the understanding of God is usually, if you worship anyone except the Supreme Lord, you've done something very horrible, very sinful, very wrong. It's one of the worst things you can do, and you can be condemned forever for that. Whereas here we see Krishna saying, I am the Supreme, but if you're worshiping one of my devas, one of my servants, that's okay. Even I'll encourage you to do it, because it'll bring you further up, right? But then Krishna will go on to say, those who worship the devas go to the planets of devas, where the results are temporary and where they come back down. But those that worship me, they come to me, to the spiritual realm beyond it all. Okay. So Shiva is very special. He's not like one of the devas of this material realm that's like, I rule a planet, or I rule a particular aspect of the material energy, and my business is to maintain that. And he's not a jiva. He's not a soul like us. Like these roles that the devas have, Indra, Surya, Chandra, etc. They're not exactly people. These are posts that different people adopt for some time. Just like there's a mayor of a city, and someone plays that role, and then that person moves on, and the next person comes along and plays that role. That's what these devas are like, but Shiva's not like that. The understanding that's so Vyasadeva yes. I'm sorry?
Should I increase the volume?
I don't know. Is everybody okay? It's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Vyasadeva, in his Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, in other texts, I've written and encouraged you to worship these devas, following Krishna's path. If you read Shiva Purana, you will walk away thinking Shiva is the supreme. Naturally. But he says, but I want you to understand that beyond all that, there is Sri Krishna. That Shiva, the idea, there's a saying, Krishna never sets one foot out of Vrindavan. Right now, Vrindavan, the Vrindavan of the spiritual realm, he never sets a foot outside it. he remains in that realm of divine love. He never touches the material energy. When he comes from the spiritual realm into the material realm, first his spiritual realm enters into the material realm. So the Vrindavan that we find here in India is not actually the material realm, according to the ancient texts. It's the spiritual realm in the material realm, and then Krishna comes in, so that he actually never touches the material energy. Shiva is when Krishna touches the material energy. He touches it in the form of Shiva. So it's a very subtle thing. It's almost like saying, the example is given, is milk or is yogurt milk or not milk? In one sense, it's nothing but milk, but just with a little touch, right, of the culture that transforms it in a particular way. And so Shiva is Krishna that touches the material energy. And he manifests in this world as Krishna's devotee. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, his most conclusive text, then Vyasadeva identifies Shiva as Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. That he's the great, that Shambhu or Shiva is the greatest of all the Vaishnavas, the greatest of all the Krishna's worshippers. So if we read Srimad Bhagavatam, then we'll see and worship Shiva in his role of being this very unique manifestation of Krishna that manifests as Krishna's devotee. So if you're comfortable with that, if your dharma, if you're comfortable with that understanding, then when you hear the chanting of Krishna, it in no way is contrary to your devotion to Shiva. It's actually Shiva's dancing in that kirtan too, himself. And he would take joy in seeing you chant and dance as well. Is that okay? Thank you. Happy Mahashivaratri to you. Okay. We're looking for more questions. Patiently waiting for more questions. I think over here on the right-hand side, these ladies may have a question. Yes? No? No. Okay. Anybody? We can.
It could be a pretty naive one, how, when, why would he choose to be a devotee of Shiva and not some other deity? How does that work?
Well, I cannot speak for Ankit, but I can say, again, Shiva is powerful and beautiful and wonderful and selfless and compassionate. He's absolutely beautiful and wondrous. So it's no mystery why a person wouldn't be attracted and feel love for Lord Shiva. And if you read the texts like the Puranas, like the Shiva Purana, it just glorifies him, so greatly. So it's very understandable that someone would find devotion in their heart for Lord Shiva. And again, the text that Vyasa gives, he's speaking to people on so many different levels. So if you look at them all, it can be very confusing too. That's why we feel that the Srimad Bhagavatam is so important, because it's a text where he tells his own story and shows us, I'm trying now to answer all the questions and clarifying any gray areas that may have been there before. But we should all feel that love for Lord Shiva in our hearts. He's absolutely, Bhagavatam glorifies him as well. There's a beautiful verse in Bhagavatam, maybe you can find, that describes that the great souls almost always endure personal suffering for the benefit of others. Right? It was the churning of the ocean of milk. Right? The common conflict between the devas and the asuras, Shiva is above all of that, like that. Right? He's kind of dear to everyone, deva or asura, because his nature is so special and so beyond. And when the churning of the ocean was taking place, it was the devas having to work with the asuras. They had to work together to achieve their goal. And they worked very hard. Sometimes you dedicate yourself to something, It's really challenging, really difficult. You have to work with people that you don't particularly like. And there's so much struggle. This is what the Devas and the Asuras were going through. And then after so much struggle and so much hard work, what comes out of the ocean of milk, what's churned, is poison. And it's so toxic and so prevalent. They didn't know what to do. And Shiva stepped up and said, I will drink that poison. I will absorb it myself. Right? And there we hear the verse. Were you able to find it? No. It's essentially what it says is that great souls almost always endure personal suffering to relieve the suffering of others. Right? And Lord Shiva is the example of that. So all glories to Mahadeva and Shiva. Okay, everybody. Maybe we stop a little bit early tonight. There's wonderful kirtan to enter into. Right now, all these kirtans are wonderful, but almost every night, the last kirtan is led by Madhava Prabhu. And exceptional things are happening in these kirtans. Like exceptional feelings, emotions are being felt. Waves of not just material happiness, but the deep spiritual happiness are taking place right in that room every night. And I encourage you to go in there and experience it. Let go. Take your ego, leave it outside the door. Any resentments, any anger that you have toward any other living being, set it aside. Set aside any false conceptions of you are, any roles that you have to play in your material realm. Set those. You can pick them back up when you walk back out, but leave them at the door. Sit down in just your pure spiritual radiance. Open yourself up to that sound. Let it enter into your ears. Let it enter in your heart. Let it come back up through your throat and through your mouth and echo that vibration, and then just become lost in it. Let your body become lost in it. Let your mind become lost in it. Let your heart become lost in it, and you will have a very special experience. Please give it a try. Thank you all so much. It's been a joy spending this time with you. Hari Om Tat Sat.